You know where there's going to be a ton of stuff? Tomorrow. Yep. Because not only do you have the NBA and the NHL, but you got Major League Baseball and the 86th Masters at Augusta. Gentlemen, where do we begin? We can start with our bets. You can start with just your general thoughts on the course and what you're looking for here.
Yeah, let's break it down here, Kelley. We'll go with just starting out with the field in general here. 91 players. Tiger and J.J. Spawn. J.J. Spawn gets in for winning the Valero last week. So 91 players total. 50 in ties make the cut. So 54 made it last year. Just to give you an idea, we're likely to see, about 60% of the field make it here. And when you start to really get down to who we think can compete, it's even more than that. And so past champions get a lifetime exemption. So you are going to have all these guys are teeing it up. Sandy Lyle, Jose Murillo Thabel, Vijay Singh, Larry Mize, Mike Weir, Fred Couples, Patrick Harrington, Bernhard Longer. They are all teeing it up this week at Augusta. So that's 8 guys with virtually no chance of winning. I mean, literally sub 1%, probably sub 0.5% chance of winning. I mean, Mize played last year. He shot 84.79. Vijay played last year. He shot 79.80. Sandy Lyle played last year, shot 81.75. Right. So again, good by golfer standards, not good by current professional golfer standards. Right.
If I had to pick one though, I'd go with Bernhard Longer out of that group.
There you go.
There actually are matchups. I've seen some matchups between the old guys. It's kind of funny.
Yes. Yeah. And then we have 6 amateurs in the field as well. We know that there's at least been some amateurs that have made the cut here and there, but no amateurs ever contended. Here's 6 more guys that have no chance, really, of winning. So 8, 6, now we're at 14. You subtract 14 from 91, we're at 77. But we've got guys who are coming in, and some of them, admittedly, not 100%. Bryson DeChambeau came out and said he's at about 80%.
Yep.
Hideki Matsuyama came out and said he's hopeful the neck holds up for him over the course of the tournament.
Jeez.
Paul Casey has said that he is injured. Abe Answer pulled out of his hometown tournament because of an undisclosed injury. Webb Simpson also battling injuries out there. So that's 5 more guys that you can all but remove. I'm not going to say completely because again, these are still professional athletes and they're all still really good golfers, and maybe they can figure out the combination of Advil and Percocet and whatever else it all takes to get it done.
It's really a deep dive.
But
deer antler spray.
So now that's 77. You remove those 5 guys down to 72. And again, so 50 and ties make the cut. We're likely to get 53, 54, something like that. And about 72 guys that we really honestly think have a chance at contending for this thing. So keep that in mind when you're starting to make your yes-no cut bets. Keep that in mind when you start to look at these top 30 bets that are out there, these top 20 bets that are out there. So keep all of that in mind when you're doing that. No player outside the official World Golf Ranking top 30 has won since Angel Cabrera in 2009. So if we wanted to continue this whole process of elimination thing here, Adam Scott and Patrick Reed are currently outside of the World Golf Ranking top 30, so they would be removed. And then the other one is that we've talked about a couple of different times this week is that no debutant has won since 1979 when Fuzzy Zeller won. So that would eliminate a handful of guys, notably Sam Burns. Let's hope we break.
Yeah, let's hope we
Trend.
break that.
Yes.
I want to add one more kind of trend on there, Matt, where it's again, we often talk about trends. I do think with the Masters, you can look at this stuff a little bit more seriously. What is really truly predictive and what is not. But this was we talk about Matsuyama, how he kind of blew up all these trends last year. But heading into before that Matsuyama win, 9 straight Masters champions had at least 2 top 15 finishes in their 3 tournaments leading into the event. So the guys that would qualify for that this year: Scotty Sheffler, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Daniel Berger, Shane Lowry, Sam Burns, Terrell Hatton, Russell Henley, Billy Horschel, and Kevin Kisner. If
you want to add those guys kind of get in there. Listen, we talk about course history here for the Masters, and that's because it's been played at Augusta National since 1934. Now, the course has morphed and changed. They are very, very proactive in making sure that this course stays hard. Fair, but hard. And so what they did this year, 2 holes got lengthened. We're going to play a par 72 at 7,500 yards. The 11th and the 15th holes got lengthened. The 11th had 15 yards added to it, which has that hole playing at 520 yards. The 15th hole plays 20 yards longer now at 550 yards. We talk about the penal areas here. The rough, not all that penal. Really, and there's only 44 bunkers. Now, the bunkers, if you get them in there, could be pretty tough. It's only a 47% par percentage whenever you hit one of the bunkers here. So while there's only a few of them, they're still tough. So basically, you just want your guys to avoid the bunkers here. There's only water on 4 of the holes. So the real defense is just the length, the greens that are crazy fast and have all kinds of runoffs and all kinds of undulations and all the different things like that. The natural landscape of just there's trees everywhere. So if you're too far off, you're going to be shooting from, you're going to have to try to hit it around trees or under trees and all different things like that. And then what we found out, we've heard all week, and then we just talked to David Barnett from Tour Junkies who lives down there, and that is, rain. And so when this course is going to be a little bit softer, at least on the first day. Now, he believes that they're going to try everything they can to dry this course out, and with the winds that are coming on Friday, could certainly dry it out as well. But Thursday likely to be super soft, super wet, and with that, you're going to get no run out on these drives, and it's going to play even longer. Like, it's going to play super, super long because you're going to drive it, and it's going to go plop like out there, and you're not going to get those extra 10, 15, 20 yards of run out. So something else to consider when it comes to that. You're going to watch Amen Corner. That's the famous 3-hole stretch. There's a 500-yard par 4. There's a 155-yard par 3. And then kind of a risk-reward 510-yard par 5. Rays Creek is prominent on all 3 of these holes. And so this is 3 of the 4 holes that actually have water that are going to be there on Amen Corner. So that the tournament can be won right there because, again, there's a 510-yard par 5. You can be super aggressive. It can also be lost if you go ahead and hit it in the water.
Yeah, we've seen it lost more times
Yes.
those holes, honestly, than won, right?
Yes, no, absolutely. Ryegrass fairways and rough, bent grass greens, typically firm, fast, hard to read, going to be bumps and stuff all over the place, and which is why we have seen that you don't have to be a good putter to win here at Augusta. The last 14 winners at the Masters, strokes gained putting, only Jordan Spieth inside the top 60 in the world. Hideki Matsuyama, one of the worst putters, notoriously one of the worst putters on tour. One last year, he was coming into this tournament, he was 175th in the world in strokes gained putting. Dustin Johnson in the fall version, 48th. Tiger Woods in 2019 in that magical run, 74th. Patrick Reed, 72nd. Sergio, 162. Danny Willett, 60. Bubba, 109. Adam Scott, 130. Bubba again at 142. You get it. Phil Mickelson, 133. Trevor Immelman was 191st in the world in putting. So you do not have to putt well in order to win this tournament. That is the main thing here. Don't overvalue putting too much on this. What you do need to do is take advantage of the par 5s. Par 5s have at least a 30% birdie rate. All 4 of them have at least a 30% birdie rate. So an advantage to longer hitters here who can get it there in 2. Patrick Reed, when he won, was 13 under on the par 5s. When Hideki won, Dustin Johnson, they were 11 under each on the par 5s. You were going to get the majority of your scoring on these par 5s, so you have to be able to go out there and take advantage of all of those. And so, this is how we started to break down, shorten our player pool, what fits these kind of the type of player that can play well in all of these factors right here, Gill, and that's kind of how we got to our player pool.
Okay. And that player pool we will reveal momentarily. What our bets are, outrights and beyond. Do you make any Tiger derivative bets?
Make the cut.
I did as well.
Make the cut. Yeah, I think that's the one. You ready to give your picks? What do you got?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Let's do it to it. Couple of last little things here. If you're still trying to put a betting card together, over the last 5 years, 13 guys have multiple top 10s. And again, we talk about that this is the most predictive course on the tour. They play the same course every single year and have since 1934. Jon Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Jordan Spieth, Justin Rose, Rory McIlroy, Cameron Smith, Patrick Reed, Tony Finau, Webb Simpson, Brooks Koepka, Mark Leishman, Xander Schauffele, and Corey Connors. So those guys right there are the dudes. There's a few of those that I don't like, but those are the, over the last 5 years, those are the only guys that have multiple top 10s.
I caught this note earlier in the week. It was top 10 percentages in Masters of qualified players, so their careers in the Masters. We laugh when we see that price on Jon Rahm. He's hit top 10 in 80% of the Masters he's played in. It's just silly. Spieth's at 62, over 62%, Tiger over 60%, Cam Smith right at 60%. It's wild with some of these guys.
One other thing to consider here, and this is just kind of an overall betting tip in golf in general, but specifically at this tournament. We talk about like holding back maybe a bullet or two for some of these guys that maybe you want to get in on as the tournament kind of progresses here. The average first round score of the last 30 winners of this tournament is 69.7, so 70, 2 under par. So the guy's not going to go light it up on Thursday. And we've actually seen that only 10% of the guys that finish inside the top 10 shoot their best round on Thursday. So just keep that in mind. If there's a guy that you were kind of eyeing and you don't want to bet him quite yet, and he shoots par or only 1 under and he's 3 or 4 back or something, that doesn't mean he's unbettable at all. Like, that does not mean he's unbettable. Certainly a guy that you can still pull the trigger
That's
on.
probably the best bit of everybody hold your horses talk we could have, which is we have all the time in the world to talk about this tournament before it starts. We all get wrapped up in all of our pre-flop bets. Just know that nothing is over after tomorrow.
It's for,
you can lose the Masters on Thursday, but but you can't win it.
Exactly. You can't win it. And it's like we talk about as we head into NFL season, for guys like Matt and myself, it's like we've been stacking bets on this tournament since November, so it's our card might not reflect exactly what Matt's talking about right there. But yeah, like you want to save, if you're just building your card this week, definitely save a bullet or two to fire in game for sure.
And that's not to say I won't. That's not to say that I won't for sure, or add on to some of these guys that I already have in the account. So where I'm at, I started at the top. Justin Thomas, I know, me and everyone else in the whole world, plus 1540 on him. He's first or second in my 50, 36, 24, and 12 round models. He comes in either first or second, and I just can't ignore the numbers.
Just to recap, because we hit this on the Megapod, but take out your 50. He matches number 1 overall on both of our last 12, last 24, last 36, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many times we've sat here before a golf tournament and me and you have matched perfectly like that before.
He's gained 34.4 strokes tee to green over his last 4 events. He just has putted like complete garbage. And here's the thing. Everybody might putt like garbage this week at the mat. Like, it doesn't pay to be a good putter. And so maybe he can just find a little bit of something. Remember, the only guy we got that little nugget as well. The only guy that's getting whispered in his ear about things to do around Augusta is Justin Thomas from Tiger Woods. Tiger's not talking to anybody except for Justin Thomas. So if anybody's getting some little tricks here and there, it's Justin Thomas. And again, it's really just kind of finding some magic with that putter, and I think he could get it done for sure.
And it should be pointed out, I had Casey Kerr on a numbers game this morning, famous caddy. He's been on the bag of Ernie Els, PJ Singh, Arnold Palmer has won many majors on the bag. I asked him, Bones McKay on Justin Thomas's bag here. Is that a big deal? Or do we make too much of that? And he's like, oh no, he got him just for this tournament. Mm-hmm. This is why he got him. So all of that stuff for Justin Thomas.
Cam Smith, I took at 18, and then as we were sitting at this desk, ended up taking him again at a little over 20 because the love for Cam Smith, for whatever reason, is not there. I get it. This is a more public tournament than most, and we talked about this leading into this tournament 2-3 weeks ago, that, hey, guys, we're going to have 11 different states betting into this for the first time, and they're going to be betting the names that they know. And Cam Smith probably isn't a household name to a lot of golf fans out there, but all he does is go out and contend. He has 4 starts here, and T10, T2, and a T5 in 3 of those 4. Over the last 50 rounds, so if you're looking at good history on a guy, over the last 50 rounds of the people in this field, he's 10th in the field in approach. He's 1st in short game. He is 4th in strokes gained on par 5s, which we said is so vitally important at this course. and he's 7th in 3-putt avoidance, because what I don't want is a guy to make it on the green and then start knocking the ball all over the place. Because listen, sometimes you just got to lag it up there and take your par, and Cam Smith is going to do that. So really do like him a ton. Played Scotty Sheffler at 20. He's the number one golfer in the world. He's the hottest golfer in the world going right now. I'm just riding the form with him. He wasn't like really exploding off the page in any of these models that I ran, Kelley, but like he's in the top 12 in all of them, in the top 10, top 12. So that's certainly not bad, but it's just, typically that wouldn't trigger a bet for me on a guy that was at such short odds, but just really love his form. Corey Connors is the only short guy that I played this week. So I was looking at driving distance so incredibly heavily in this one, and probably even more after finding out the conditions are going to be so wet. But Corey Connors is the only short guy that I played strictly because his iron play is just absolutely phenomenal. And if these greens do happen to soften up just a little bit, it could really favor a dude like Corey Connors, who is just so incredibly good with the irons.
He's one of the guys, Matt, that I don't have in any kind of bet on, that I'm kind of regretting might be adding something on tonight, just to back up kind of what you're talking about too. Most strokes gained ball striking last 4 years at the Masters, he ranks second only behind Dustin Johnson. Strokes gained approach since 2015 at Augusta, he ranks third behind Spieth and Louis Oosthuizen.
Yeah. Joaquin Niemann comes in at 65-1. Joaquin Niemann inside the top 20 in every version of the model that I ran, and I'm getting him at 65. That is where I start to do this. Like, listen, if I think that there's a big time discrepancy in what I think I want in a golfer and where his odds are sitting, I'll pull the trigger on that. Joaquin Niemann does everything well. He doesn't do anything superbly well, but that's what I like, a well-balanced guy I want in this tournament. I think Niemann is certainly one of those guys. Sam Burns, I understand. Debutant, I got a huge number on him. I don't feel guilty one bit. This number has plummeted down to 35 at some books out there because people understand this guy's really, really good. Yeah, it's his first time to play, but he has 3 wins under his belt. This is not a guy that doesn't know how to go out and win, and he's not going to feel like this moment is too big for him. Sam Burns inside the top 5 in every single one of the models that I ran this week. I love Sam Burns this week. We got a little anecdotal thing from David Barnett a little bit earlier as well, that apparently he was playing a bunch of practice rounds with Scotty Sheffler and was getting the best of him out there in those. And so that's interesting stuff as well. These last ones are just number plays. Robert McIntyre, 274-1, and Luke List at 450-1. Those numbers are long gone. People saw that was way off market, and they came in and hammered on those. Both of those guys just feel really, really solid and all this stuff. Bunch of matchups: Cam Smith over Rory McIlroy, Sam Burns over Patrick Cantlay, Niemann over Lowry, Hatton over Matsuyama, and then McIntyre over Fleetwood. Every single one of those plus money. I took the dog in every single one of those matchups. And then some finishing position stuff: Justin Thomas, Cameron Smith, Robert McIntyre, all like a couple top 10s to top 20, and then Hideki a no on the top 20.
Love it. All right, I have much fewer, fewer bets, so we'll get mine in here before the break, and we'll get to Kelley's afterwards. I do have 6 outrights. I am also going to add Corey Connors because I'm seeing a 60-1 on him. I will take that. But Scotty Sheffler at 16-1, the world's hottest golfer, the world number one, which John Rahm is not very pleased about, by the way, we hear. Cam Smith also at 16-1. Rory was my first bet. Made that a while back at 16-1. And then these are just bets that I just want to have. Brooks Koepka, 20.5-1, if you will. Will Zalatoris, I like that number, near 37-1. And Eldrick, Tiger, Woods, because I will not be a part of it if this happens, 62-1.
I forgot. I also bet Will Zalatoris at 44-1 while we were sitting here at the desk.
There's a couple numbers I need to look at again. Like we were talking about, you added that because Circa readjusted some numbers, so there's definitely some ones I'll have to dive back into and check out.
Yeah, so I forgot about that.
There's also a Tiger Woods to make the cut that I think I will bet before the night is out.
Yeah, I think we're all through. Matt, I don't know, I'll go over my bets next segment, but for people looking at Tiger stuff for this year, I still think if you get anything at plus money on a make the cut, I think it's a solid bet. I don't know that I'd be messing around with anything else besides that. That's me personally, but that's where I stand on it. I don't know how you feel.
No, if there's plus money still out there to make the cut, we already said this, right?
And there is.
It's 91 runners Only about 72 of those guys are guys that are any real threat in this tournament. Tiger did not tee it up to go miss the cut.
I see plus 110s or better out there still on that. Kelley's picks next. Kelley, your Masters picks.
Yeah, just start running through this stuff. Just wanted to go over what what we put in our models this week too, Matt. And if you anything you wanted to add in there as well. Over 60% of mine was approach stats and off the tee stats. So it was strokes gained off the tee, driving distance, strokes gained approach, greens and regulation. And then besides that, I did also look at scrambling. Looked at strokes gained par 5, as Matt mentioned before. It's really where you're going to score on this course. Matt and Gill mentioned that earlier. It's really where you're going to score on this course. Looked at some proximity, 175 to 200. David Barnett pointed that out when he was on with us earlier too. A lot of the approach shots coming from there. And then it was some strokes gained short game, which combines putting in around the green, just a little bit of that, and then bogey avoidance was something I looked heavily at too. I think that, Matt, even with the bad weather, I think that becomes even more important now. We're really, you want to get on the green and you make some putts from there. I think if you're scrambling too much, it could be an issue this week. Some of these stats though, and some of the other trends that we've seen in the Masters, there's a big reason why I added this in. Nine of the past 10 winners were top 7 in the field in greens and regulation. You're going to see that a lot in most tournaments. Approach is always going to be so important. That's why you're going to see stuff like that. But also 8 of the past winners, top 10 in the field in scrambling. So it really is, this is why the Masters is one of the best tests in golf. I think we're looking for guys that are long off the tee, that are great on approach, but they also got to be able to, fix their mistakes when they come up, be able to scramble, be able to hit shots around the green, get out of these bunkers when you can or when you need to. So those were all stuff that I kind of looked at in my model. And coming up on top, like we talked about before, JT was number 1, so he wasn't able to get quite as good a number as Matt was able to get to, but he was my first add this week. Added him at 14-1 on the outrights. Scotty Sheffler, we both added 20-1 last week. I'm a little surprised to hear what you said, because Sheffler was, he was top 5 in every model I ran, except for the last 12. He came in 9th. So I guess a little bit better in my model than what he was looking like in yours. Mm-hmm. But still 20-1, didn't add on any more to that bet. One other ad this week was Victor Hovland at about 23-1 is where I got him at. This is another guy. He landed, 6th, and 3rd in my different models. So Hovland, we're a big fan of him. I don't know if this is the breakthrough major spot for him, but I think that's a good number, and I do think he is one of those guys where we've kind of seen this tier develop in the betting odds of guys that we really think can win and maybe are a little bit more of a stretch. I do think he's got a good chance this week. So him in the outrights. Other outrights I bet, another outright I bet earlier on was Daniel Berger. Bet that after the Honda Classic, 55-1. Not loving that as much right now. I would say it was kind of my one regret early bet from earlier in the year. It's still a better number than what you're going to find mostly in the market right now. Just not showing up in my model as much as I would have liked. Sam Burns, 87-1. We already talked about that. That was the first Masters bet we made this year. Burns still looking good in my model. I like that one this week. Gary Woodland, 100-1. I will continue to bet him as he's looking better and better each week. He will get off the schneid and win one of these tournaments at some point. And I think Gary doesn't have the best Masters history before experience, but still at 100-1 on a world-class player, just coming back from that injury still. I'm willing to take a shot on. And Luke List, 450-1. We talked about that one before. We added that early on. My last 24 model, he shows up 3rd in. Last 36, he's shows up 8th in. So that was a no-brainer for me. As far as matchups that I played this week, 2 right now, could be a couple more ads tonight. Targeted Matsuyama in both of these. Matt took Neiman at -120 over Matsuyama. Neiman's a guy I'm coming in pretty hot on this week. A combination of being pretty high on him and then Matsuyama looking to fade a little bit. Took Neiman at -120 over him, and then Terrell Hatton, I know you played this one as well, +120 over Matsuyama. There. As far as finishing positions, took a top 10 on JT, just +135 there. The problem is that when you talk about some of these guys that you're looking at with betting with shorter odds, the finishing position bets become more difficult to bet, obviously. And then you got to find matchups that they usually are pretty limited on betting options for matchups. So I wasn't going to go hammer against Jon Rahm or anything like that. We've talked about him finishing 80% of the time in the top 10 over his Masters appearances. So I rarely do this. Usually we'll try to target guys like this in matchups more often, but decided to play a top 10 on him this week, plus 135. Top 20s on Victor Hovland, Sam Burns, and Joaquin Niemann. Top 30 on Luke List. A lot of those are really model results, guys that I think are going to do pretty well this week. May not end up winning, but I think are going to be up there on the leaderboard. To make the cut, Tiger Woods about plus 115 is where I got that at to make the cut. I think that's absolutely bettable. We talked about it all week. This guy, if he's feeling good, he tees it up tomorrow. This guy feels like he can win. He said it. He feels like he can win out there. I don't know if I believe in that, but I believe he can make the cut absolutely at plus money. I love that. And another guy I wanted to work in here, Siw Kim, top South Korean player, plus 125. I have on him as a nationality prop. I do like him this week. We've heard some guys that are very high on him this week. I would say I'm high on him, not as high as some other guys we've heard from, but I do think that top South Korean bet's pretty good bet. Where really Sung Jae is the only other guy I'm remotely worried about. So those are all my bets for the Masters.
Three other guys we didn't mention. Jon Rahm, of course, top of the board, number one. Shortest odds out there. Listen, his last four Masters, you can't argue with this. T5, T7, T9, and an outright fourth, right? So it's just, for me, it's just that the odds are just too short in this field. And listen, his form it's not bad by any stretch.
It's not as good as what it usually is.
But it's just not as great as it's been. And I think any of these guys that are, double his, like literally double what his odds are is there's just a little bit more bang for the buck there with that. Listen, we can't get out of here without talking about Rory Mcilroy. He's trying to complete the career Grand Slam. Kind of under the radar, Gill. He's had a little bit better form than I think that we've really noticed, because he did play a couple of tournaments overseas. He played a couple over in Dubai where he competed and played pretty well and nearly won. And I actually would have won one of them, but he hit, on the 17th, he ended up hitting one in the water and ended up not winning the tournament. But I mean, if he'd have played it conservative, most likely would have won that one. So he is not as bad as I think we think maybe in all of this.
Oh, no, totally. He's top 10 in every one of my models.
Yeah. Well, and even I'm just saying, even just recent form, I don't think it's as bad really as maybe we make it out to be with all this. But again, just didn't make mine. And then we can't, gloss over Jordan Spieth. If we're going to talk about the Masters, we can't gloss over Jordan Spieth. This guy has 8 starts. He has made all 8 cuts. He has 5 top 3s and a T11 in 6 of the 8. So 5 top 3s and a T11 in 6 of those 8. The other ones, he had a T21 and then a T46 in the fall version of this tournament, which some of those stats I kind of just take with a grain of salt, because the course is just completely different in the fall than it is whenever they're playing it right now in April. So, listen, I don't have any Jordan Spieth stuff. I will say this. That is the one guy that I have circled for if I have to put in a bullet after round one, that Jordan's could be that guy. So
I think Rory would be that guy for me.
He's the guy that if Jordan's, shoots par and he finds himself 3 or 4 off the lead and he's, now is at 30 or something like that, that's where I would come in and kind of pull the trigger, I think, on Jordan. So he's the guy that I do have circled to kind of see how he looks after Thursday.
I do have a play on Rory McIlroy at nearly 17-1.
Yep.
And Jordan Spieth is the answer to the question of who has the greatest course factor adjustment, minimum 12 rounds at the Masters in history. The answer is Jordan Spieth, meaning that over sort of the course of his career, his play has stepped up by the widest margin over his play the rest of his career at this particular course.
One other thing I just want to mention quick. I will be adding, the only thing you didn't see on my card is first round leader bets. I will be adding a few of those tonight when I get more of a firm idea of what the weather's looking like. But it is mostly going to be those Thursday morning guys. That is what's looking like the best weather we're going to get for Thursday and Friday is going to be early tomorrow morning.
One and done, and the Augusta draft for the Masters. Our draft next. One and done time. You ready? Now, Kelley, you've already called yours, right?
JT, I'm in.
Justin Thomas. Matt, you want to go next or should I go next?
Sure. I'm going one.
I didn't get what the answer was there either.
You want to go next or should I go? Sure.
I'm going with one. Cameron Smith.
Oh,
right.
Born August 18th, 1993 in Brisbane, Australia. The beautiful mullet. He's going to go out there. He's going to weather these conditions. He's not going to be worried at all about the wind. He's used to playing in the wind. He's going to play this course, win this thing by 3 strokes. Your winner, the mullet, Cam Smith.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
3 strokes,
I
too.
don't really think we needed all that, but okay.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Did you print off his whole Wikipedia page? Is that page?
Wow, that's a tribute. I'm going with Brooks Koepka. Went with Brooks last year at the U.S. Open. I saved him all the time for the U.S. Open. I don't think that worked out very nicely. I'll take him for the Masters. Brooks Koepka, my one and done.
That's a good point. Like, that is one where Brooks is at this place right now where I don't really know what, if 3 months from now, are you 100% sure 3 months from now you're going to think Brooks Koepka is 100% healthy? No, like there's no way. So I think it's probably a good time to use him. I don't mind that.
And I did. There are one and done standings. I have $3.379 million in my pocket. Matt has just shy of $2 million, and Kelley just above $1 million.
I'm making minimum wage on the PGA Tour right now.
Can you imagine?
That's how my season's gone.
Oh man! Did you happen to catch any of the par 3 before the weather set in today and they had to cancel it? But they had Gary Player, Ray Floyd, and Tom Watson as the sort of tribute group. Those guys were firing at the pin. Like I was like, how? Gary Player's 86. He almost had an ace.
I caught a bit of it. It was mostly just Tommy Fleetwood's kid, apparently. That's what I caught.
A lot of kids out there.
Yeah, a lot of kids.
Ready for a draft?
Let's do it to it.
What's the order on the draft?
You first and then around, because you're behind in the draft, I believe.
I am behind.
I think Matt and I are tied
for a moment there. I wasn't behind. But
so I got the win.
You got the win after regrading. Yes, right. You got the win.
Oh, now I was gonna say now my computer is all jacked. Okay.
All right, how about
no,
Kelley
no,
starts?
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. I am going to go with Jon Rahm, top 5 plus 230.
Ooh. Joaquin Niemann, top 20 plus 180.
Well, that one's
cross it off the list, Matty.
Off the list. That's fun. Sam Burns, top 20 plus 150.
I'll cross that one off the list.
Yeah, I knew. Well, here's the thing. That was retaliation for you taking one of mine. I knew it was.
I knew we were going to fire off both of those.
Justin Thomas, top 10 plus 130.
All right, that's another one I had to cross off. Siwoo, plus 120, top South Korean.
Oh, you with that. That's how he wins this stuff.
I'm going to take Tiger Woods to make the cut at plus 105.
And I'll cross another one off.
Daniel Berger, top 10. No, let me not do that. Hold on. Daniel Berger, top 20. Hold, please. Waiting for my computer.
Who you want? You want Daniel Berger?
Plus 120. Top 20, Daniel Berger.
Cam Smith, top Australian, minus 110.
This guy.
Robert McIntyre, top 30 plus 120.
Am I up? My turn? Your turn. Oh. Tony Finau over Adam Scott. Finau at plus 100 matchup. Full tourney.
That was beginning of round.
Hold on. That was a round matchup.
This is beginning of round 4.
Right? I messed up again. Let me go to tournament. Tony
So
Finau minus 110 over Siw Kim.
Gotcha.
Takes Finau over Kim for the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you had these written down.
Oh man, what's that?
I thought you had these written down. What's taking you so
We're
long?
doing a show over here, man.
No, I do. I was just, hey man, I'm strategizing. He fumbled around for 30 seconds. You're snapping on me. Calm down over there. Luke List top 30 plus 160.
Flex Seal. That was your Flex
Flag Seal.
Will Zalatoris in a 3-ball with Cantlay and DeChambeau. Zalatoris is the winner plus 150.
Wyatt, you're gonna have to find that market downstairs. I can help you later.
Scotty Sheffler top 10 plus 150.
It's just not a normal market we hit. The three-way option, three-way winner option, Rory, or Hovland to win plus 340.
Hammer.
Rory, or Hovland at plus 350. Okay. Which one do I think is more? I'll go ahead and play some ridiculous chalk here and play Jon Rahm as the top continental European.
Oh, yeah.
At minus 110.
For crying out loud.
Jon Rahm as the top continental European at minus 110.
I believe that bet has won more times on the primetime action
I think
draft
so. The
than
Continental
anything
Europe
else.
one? I
Yeah.
think so too. Rahm specifically.
Yeah,
Also.
Rahm continental European.
Yeah.
It was either that or Spieth over Morikawa in a head-to-head. But I went with that one.
No one beats continental Europeans like Jon Rahm does.
Yes.
That's what I've said many times.
He just
before.
drilled. He just
What
drilled
is?
them.
I mean, it's only Hovland, and then what is Sergio next on that odds? I was looking at that earlier.
Oh, from a nationality thing?
Yeah, for the
Continental European, Victor Hovland.
Yeah, after Vic, is it Sergio?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, it's either like Rahm or Vic.
Yeah. Yeah. I took Rahm.
Who inevitably, when we look up tomorrow, halfway through the day, and we look up at the scoreboard, the leaderboard at the Masters, who's the guy that's going to be on top of that leaderboard? We're like, oh, of course he is. How did we not think about this?
I mean, here's the deal. If I'm not going to play Jon Rahm
Well, guys, we've
for the
thought
tournament, like, I mean, he's longer for first round leader than he is to win the tournament by double, right?
And that's what JT will be one of my first round leaders.
So it's kind of like, do I play Rahm at 20-1 just to have some Rahm exposure
Some Rahm.
and hope that he goes out and shoots 4 under or something like that or whatever.
Yeah, and the way, like, I don't know if people fully understand those first round leader odds out there. Like, that's what you'll see because they think, over time, right, over 4 rounds, the best players' games should work out. That's why they have shorter odds on the outrights. And it's the opposite for the longer odds guys, where they have longer odds to win the tournament than they would to win a single round, where more variance can work in their favor.
Absolutely. That's why we always say Seabass, Emiliano Grillo, like any of these guys, Keegan Bradley, any of these dudes, they will eventually have a horrible blow up round, but boy, they might win you a first round leader.
Actually, Siw Kim, I gotta check tee times, but he would kind of work in that that same group, and he might be a first round leader bet for myself tomorrow.
I believe I've won a Tommy Fleetwood bet the same way. He's good for a great round. Not necessarily
and then put like 3 par rounds together.
He is one of the most frustrating golfers. He's a guy 3 years ago, Matt. Like, I thought he was the next big thing, was betting him all the time, that sort of thing, and he just really hasn't rounded into form.
Dude, I can't wait. Tomorrow, numbers game in the morning. I don't know how I'm doing a show. I'm just gonna be distracted by my stream of the Masters for 90 minutes of that show. Can't wait.